All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call Haloyam Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so back again, I'm in this book, Population Control, all right, by D0MS. All right, and this is going to be a part 2 of chapter 11, going into the deadly sweeteners. All right, the last video I did was on aspartame, going into this aspartame, reading this entire section. All right, but now, all right, I want to go into the Splenda section. All right, let's read this. We'll read this. All right, and this for those that haven't been watching that may not know, all right, this book, all right, let's go to the beginning real quick. It's called Population Control by D0MS, which goes into all the ways Esau, Edom, all right, starting with the elite banking families. All right, it goes into all the ways they go about to depopulate, man. All right, because Esau, Edom has an agenda, man, to bring forth the new world order. All right, and part of that new world order is to depopulate the masses. All right, because the less people there are, all right, the easier it is to control them. All right, when you look at the Georgia Guidestones, all right, one of the orders is to what? Bring down the world population to 500 million, man. There's over 8 billion people on this earth. So about 7.5 more than that, 7.5 billion people have to be put to death, man. All right, and it goes into all the ways they go about depopulating. It goes into the chemtrails, the poisoning the food, the water supply. All right, it goes into everything, militarization of the police force and all of that, man. It goes into the GMOs and all that. These are all ways Esau Edom goes about depopulating, man. All right. So one of the last videos I did was going into the deadly sweeteners. I already went into this chapter, but I only went into this part right here, the aspartame section. All right, but now I want to do the Splenda section. All right, so let's get into it, man. All right, let's read it, man. All right, which these are nothing but poisons, man. All right, because a lot of people like to substitute their sugar, all right, for these for other sweeteners, but these sweeteners are just as poisonous as sugar. All right, we gonna get into the Splenda. All right, you got Truvia right here. And then later on in this chapter, all right, after you read about aspartame, it goes into the soft drinks, the sodas and all of that, man. All right, so let's get into it. Let's get into Splenda, man. Let's read it, man. All right. So it says Splenda. The popular sweetener Splenda contains the chemical sucralose. Sucralose, which is made using chlorine, is 600 times sweeter than sugar. All right. It says, according to Shane Ellison, known as the people's chemist, chlorine has a split personality. It can be harmless or it can be life-threatening, he writes. In combo with sodium, chlorine forms a harmless ionic bond to yield table salt. Sucralose makers often highlight this worthless fact to defend its safety. Apparently, they missed the second day of Chemistry 101, the day they teach covalent bonds. When used with carbon, the chlorine atom in sucralose forms a covalent bond. The end result is the historically deadly organochlorine, or simply a really nasty form of chlorine. Exposure to organochlorines, Ellison argues, can lead to various forms of cancer as well as diabetes. So it's very poisonous, man. All right, and this is what people use and put in their foods, man. All right. because foods will tell you, oh, no added sugars or no sugars, or you know your your zero sugar soda, all right, your no carb soda, all right, ain't got no sugar in it, but it got aspartame in it. All right, read the last video. Go and watch the last video I did about aspartame, man. All right, and then it replaced it with stuff like Splenda, man. All right, it says sucralose was the subject of a recent study by researchers at the Ramazzini Institute in Bologna, Italy. Institute director Dr. Mirando Sofriti, all right, and his team fed 843 laboratory mice varying doses of the sweetener throughout the course of their lifespans. Post-mortems showed an association between leukemia and sucralose consumptions. All right. The more sucralose the mice consume, the higher their risk of leukemia. Further research is needed, but Sofriti urged pregnant women and children to avoid artificial sweeteners until more extensive tests can be done. In the wake of the Italian study, the Center for Science in the Public Interest downgraded Splenda in its chemical cuisine guide to food additives from safe to caution pending further review. All right, so Splenda is done up out here, man. All right, y'all be using this Splenda out here, man. All right, it says, yet the only groups that are conducting further research on Splenda have a spotty record at best. All right, the FDA, Tate and Lyle, all right, the manufacturers of sucralose, all right, the FDA, Tate and Lyle, and McNeil Nutritionals, all right, the makers of Splenda, all right, all right, Tate and Lyle and McNeil Nutritionals, of course, are incentivized to make sure that their product can be sold. And recall, it was the FDA that approved Vioxx, all right, which led to more than 60,000 deaths, all right? And Vioxx was a medicine, all right? So that goes to show you that the pharmaceutical industry is all bullshit, bro. Is nonsense, bro. The scriptures say, woe unto them that fall into the hands of a physician, man. All right? It says, Splenda is classified as a food additive, which means far less scrutiny from the FDA. All right? Splenda's manufacturers have defended the drug against the criticism. All right? Maureen Conway, RD Director of Nutritional Affairs for McNeil Nutritionals, points to a recent study led by Dr. Tongzi Wu at Australia's University of Adelaide School of Medicine and funded by the National Health and Medical Research Council there. 10 men were tested for insulin, sugar, and the hormone GLP-1 after drinking 4 different drinks following an overnight fast. It says, Conway said the test showed that consumption of sucralose was no worse than water. Excuse me. It says, she said the test in Australia provides more evidence that Splenda can be used safely by everyone, including pregnant women, children, and people with diabetes. All right. But detractors point out the limited scope of the study. Yes, Splenda is effective in avoiding insulin swings, but this does not prove anything about its long-term health effects in other areas. One potential area of concern is that the aspartame and glutamate used in some artificial sweeteners can act as neurotransmitters in the brain by facilitating the transmission of information from neuron to neuron, bro. That's crazy. All right. It says excess aspartame and glutamate may be able to gradually destroy neuronal pathways, causing memory loss, brain lesions, all right, and dementia, often well before any chronic illness is apparent. All right. Go read about the video I did on go watch the video I did on aspartame, man. All right. It says, furthermore, these sugar substitutes may be less effective than previously thought. Matter of fact, let me read that again. It says, furthermore, these sugar substitutes may be less effective than previously thought in keeping weight under control. A 2010 study published in the Yale Journal of Biology and Medicine found that non-caloric sugar substitutes, including aspartame and sucralose, do not satisfy the brain the same way that real sugar does, and consumption of sugar substitutes can lead to overeating and obesity. All right, that's why bro, it be the fattest people drinking diet soda. All right. Cause they ain't got no sugar, but it got that sucralose in it. It got that Splenda and sucralose in it. All right, which what it says, and the consumption of sugar substitutes can lead to overeating and obesity. All right, the paper referred to several large-scale experiments that found links between the use of artificial sweeteners and weight gain. All right. The study also noted that yeah, bro, because you be seeing these people who be like 400, 500 pounds, bro. They ain't drinking regular soda, but they drinking diet soda, and it's doing the same thing to them. It's poisoning them just as much. Still causing them to gain weight, man. They think because they drinking diet soda that you know, or even you people that are not 400, 500 pounds, people that are still trying to lose weight, people that are 200, 250 pounds, that should be 160, 180 pounds. Y'all not gonna lose weight drinking these substitute sodas, man, with these fake ass sweeteners in them, man. All right. The study also noted that artificial sweeteners can actually encourage sugar cravings and sugar dependence. So it's gonna make you want sugar even more, man. That's why you keep drinking and drinking and eating and eating. All right. Dr. Louis J. Elsis II, director of medical genetics at Emory University School of Medicine, told the Congregational Labor and Human Resources Committee that even a single use of aspartame has been shown to raise the levels of the essential amino acid phenylalanine, all right, in the blood. A neurotoxin, all right, phenylalanine, all right, excites neurons in the brain at the point of cellular death, causing emotional and behavior problems. He said excessive amounts of phenylalanine, all right, which constitutes 50% aspartame, bro, that's crazy, all right, can damage parts of the brain and is especially dangerous for infants and fetuses. All right, and you people be drinking soda and all these fake, bro, soda and these fucking diet sodas. All right, while y'all pregnant, bugged out your mind, man. All right, we are far from knowing everything there is to know about Splenda, but early indications are that it may have unintended consequences and be relatively ineffective as a solution, all right, to the problem and an obesity epidemic, and it is intended to address. All right, so now you know what's going on. Matter of fact, I was only going to do this video on Splenda, but now we gonna get into Truvia too. All right, so this is the beginning of the chapter. All right, as you see right here. All right, chapter 11, deadly sweeteners. We already got into aspartame in the last video. All right, we just read about Splenda. All right, and now we're going to read about Truvia. All right, so let's get into it. All right, it says health conscious consumers are always, I read this before. It says health conscious consumers are always on the lookout for substances, all right, that will sweeten their foods without packing on pounds. Yeah, but you're still destroying yourself with these fake ass sweeteners, man. With these poisonous ass sweeteners. But a close examine of some of the most popular sweeteners reveals deadly ingredients. All right, so let's get into it. Truvia. It says the sweetener Truvia contains a primary component, uh, erythritol. All right, yeah, erythritol. All right, a sugar alcohol derived from genetically modified corn. All right, Cargill, a multinational food corporation, manufactures Truvia. All right, let's zoom in a little bit. It says, it turns out that erythritol is also effective in a much different role as a pesticide. All right, so you putting a pesticide, you sweeten your food with a pesticide, man. All right, you people, those that buy Truvia, all right, it sweetens your food, bro. Esau Edom gotta go, man. All right, you see, this is all happening under the watch of Esau Edom's rulership, man. All right, it says it turns out that erythritol is also effective in a much different role as a pesticide. In mid 2014, an inquisitive grade school student made this disturbing discovery. Simon D. Kashok Miranda, the son of an associate professor of biology at Drexel University in Philadelphia, decided to test Truvia on fruit flies as a science project after he learned his parents were trying out various artificial sweeteners in an effort to diet. All right. After purchasing various sweeteners, including Equal, Truvia, and Sweet and Low, the father-son team fed the flies at Daniel Miranda's Drexel laboratory. All right. To their consternation, all right, they found that after only 6 days, all the flies fed Truvia were dead. All right. It says, let's keep reading. It says, most of the fruit flies in the study lived between 38.6 and 50.6 days, but the flies fed Truvia fruit had on average lifespan of less than 1 week. All right, the more you get them, the fruit flies, to consume erythritol, the faster they die, noted Drexel biology professor Sean O'Donnell. All right, who along with the father and son and other published a paper on the Truvia study in the journal PLOS ONE. All right, let's keep reading. It says the study found that while the FDA had approved erythritol in 2001 as a food additive, our results demonstrate for the first time that erythritol may be used as a novel, environmentally sustainable, and human-safe approach for insect pest control. Yet it's also being used as a food product. All right. In late 2013, Cargill settled a lawsuit charging, let me read that again. It says, in late 2023, Cargill settled a lawsuit charging that the corporation had misled consumers by marketing Truvia as natural, even though it contained highly processed ingredients and or GMOs. While denying liability for false advertising, Cargill nevertheless agreed to settle and announced it would put $5 million toward refunding consumers. It also agreed to change the wording on its product labels, though it would continue to market Truvia as natural, even though critics said Truvia is actually made from a fermentation process in which yeast organisms are fed genetically modified corn maltodextrin. All right. Cargill has insisted that erythritol is not derived from corn or dextrose feedstock, but from yeast organisms. Yeah, okay. But the yeast are fed GMOs, so they're playing mind games with their explanations, retorted uh, health advocate Mike Adams. Further inquiry, all right, into Truvia is needed, and the early results are certainly concerning, but given the vested interests of large corporations such as Cargill, such rigorous research is unlikely. All right. So, you know, Esau Edom, man, he goes about many ways, all right, to depopulate, man. In the food industry, all right, everything, bro, just about everything you eat is straight is deliberately poisoned, man. Deliberately, it's purposely and systematically poisoned, man. All right, with wicked and evil intentions, man. All right, you just gotta stick to meats, fruits, and sugars, and even them, they're poisoned with pesticides and insecticides, man. That's why you gotta buy organic. All right, but even the organic is poison too, because earlier, in one of the chapters, if you go on my page, because I've done many lessons on this book already. This book goes how into even the organic food is poison, man. These so-called organic foods, man. All right, because them organic labels don't even be real, man. Them USDA organic labels, you know, they don't even be official like that, bro. But anyway, man, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. All right, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Ratazah. This lesson is edifying, man. It was edifying, man. All right, you got to get away from the junk food. I know it'd be hard, man. Because you're so used to eating it, man. All right, you gotta pray to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai to give you that spirit, man, to fight that, man. Because it's better to eat good, man, to take care of your temple, man, to have a good diet, man. All right, like it tells you in the book of 2nd Ezra, man. All right, I think it's the 30th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. All right. But anyway, man, so, with that being said, call Halalyam Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. All right, so on to the next one. Shalom, shalom.